Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to Tulul Talks. The thumbnail's probably drawn your attention. 51, single, never married. Let's get into it. You must be wondering why someone would want to talk about being 51, single, and never married. So, to get started, I decided to sort of get some questions that I'll answer, that I'll address, and then get to tell my story. So, firstly, this is a story that I actually was afraid to tell. This was something that I was like, do I want to really go on the internet and talk about being 51 and never married? Let me say, no. It wasn't something I really wanted to do, but I'm going to be honest, it's something I felt inclined to do. I'm a Christian, and in my walk with God, there's been a lot that I've grown in, a lot of areas I've grown in. And to be where I am today, I feel there's something I can share to the younger generation. There's something I can share to women my age, women in their 40s, and maybe even women in their 60s. Firstly, when I was thinking about this, I actually did a bit of research and I looked at different demographics of women, looked at different demographics of men, and I was pleasantly surprised that I'm not the only woman 51 and single. Pleasantly surprised because for a long time, being single, unmarried, came with a cloak of shame. There was a level of shame that I was feeling because I hadn't been married. And so when I started doing sort of my research on women over 51, you can imagine how surprised I was that famous celebrities that the world adored are single. I'm going to mention Jennifer Aniston, Friends, Rachel, the most romantic TV series in my youth. Rachel was just the most beautiful, adorable girl. And the story of her and Ross on Friends, it was just, I can actually still remember how I felt the first episode when she realized Ross was in love with her. And it was amazing. And Jennifer Aniston at that time, the actress who plays Rachel, had so much fame. I mean, she was one of the most beautiful women on earth. I mean, we're talking about looks, we're talking about body, we're talking about her style. Jennifer Aniston was an icon, an amazing, amazing actress. And millionaire. And I, as a young girl, idolized her. I loved how she dressed. She had these tweed little skirts, and I'd look at it and think, oh my gosh, if I could be that tiny and if I could dress like that. And she was one of the best actresses at acting like she was falling in love. So as we've watched her life through the years, and we see her now, she's 55 plus, and she's single. Then another beautiful, gorgeous actress, Halle Berry. Stunning. Oh, I remember her in Boomerang, and it was just like, she was so beautiful, you know. And with Halle Berry, any hairstyle suits her. Anything. When she does the blonde, it looks good. When she does the short hair, it looks good. When she does the long hair, it looks good, because she's absolutely beautiful. Halle Berry's 58 and single. We'll look at actresses like Sandra Bullock, who is now 60 and single. We look at actresses like Demi Moore. Again, another legend. We've seen Demi Moore marry Bruce Willis. We've seen her with Ashton Kutcher, and you wouldn't think that she would be 62 and over and single. So being single later in life is not as unheard of or as shocking as we like to think. I think when we're little girls, we grow up and with this idea that I'll use myself as an example. I never wanted to be married very young. I don't ever want to be married. Excuse me, I'm just having a cup of coffee. I never wanted to be married very young. That was something I didn't want. I'd grown up in Zimbabwe, in a small town called Gweru, which is in the Midlands of Zimbabwe. Beautiful town. Small community where almost everybody knows everyone. So I grew up in a stable home. My mom and my dad were married up until my mom died, and my dad never remarried after my mom died. So I grew up in a loving home where marriage was a beautiful picture. So I never not wanted to get married because I had any issues around marriage itself. What it was is that I've always had a fierce independence, even as a young child, because I'd seen my mum be a housewife, and seeing my mum being a housewife, I felt she was disadvantaged because mum had to wait for dad to bring money. Now, my dad was into business and he was a provider, very, very great provider. We never went without. We had the best of everything. And so mum would wait, and I remember it was this joke that she and my dad had, and my mum would wait and my dad would walk in on a Friday and she'd, sort of stretch out her hand and dad would put money in her hand and she'd be like, okay, good. So my mum's wealth in my early years was from my dad. But when I got to, I'm going to say probably from about 13, 14, I noticed my mum not being very satisfied being the housewife. I mean, I thank God she was a housewife, because no matter what I went through at school, I knew I'm going home and mummy's going to be there, and she was always there to listen. She was always there to hear what we had to say. So I loved my mom being a housewife for that. But got to about 12, 13, I started to notice that my mom was starting to feel a little bit dissatisfied, I think I'd say, with just being at home. My mom had married when she was in her teens, late teens, sorry. I think my mom got married when she was like 18 or 19. So by the time I'm around 12, 13, my mom is in her 30s. And at that stage, I think it was becoming a lot more popular that women were going out, because women in the past were predominantly running in only two roles, and that was as a teacher or a nurse. And both are careers that my mom said she had no interest in, which is why being at home was quite okay for her for the time. But then I did start to notice that my mom had this desire to go out and do more. So mom started going out to South Africa and she started selling. So she should go and buy things and come and sell, and just started becoming her own businesswoman and making her own money. And I remember seeing the pride that my mom had when dad would come in to give her money, and she'd be like, nah, I don't need your money this week. It was just this, like, she really was doing it for herself. So it inspired me. It inspired me to be independent. And I was always a dreamer. So I wanted to achieve things in life. So marriage was something that I had said to myself after 25. I don't want to be married before 25. And so it was going to be something I deal with later in life. But it hasn't happened. So I think one of the things that I do want to address is, am I ashamed? Am I ashamed to be single at 51? Can I be honest? Not today. Not right now. I was ashamed to be single at 40. I was so ashamed to be single at 40 because my time frame for marriage had been 25. So I'd said, I'm not going to get married until I'm 25. And so turning 40 was such a bummer. I didn't even want to have a 40th birthday party because I felt like, what am I celebrating? I am 40 and I'm not married. And so there was so much shame attached to it. So much shame attached to being 40 and single that I didn't celebrate my 40th. I sort of went through it, and over the last 6 years, my walk with God has become stronger. And I've come to realize there's nothing to be ashamed about. Now, what I hope to do in this conversation about being 50 unmarried is, what I hope to do in this conversation about being 50 and unmarried is talk about my journey, speak about what I've been through, and look at how I've arrived at this stage. Have I had failed relationships? Yes, many. But can I say I didn't have the opportunity to be married? Was it a case of there's the one that got away? Is it a case of I was never destined to be married? Did I stay too long in the wrong relationships? Am I ever embarrassed about telling people my age and my relationship status? Let's talk about it. Firstly, am I ever embarrassed to tell people about my age? No. I am so proud to be 51 years old. I have no health issues. I've got no blood pressure problems. I've got no sugar diabetes. I have nothing wrong with me physically. My health is very good. I am a bit overweight, but even in being overweight, I am very healthy. So 50, I'm really proud to be 51. I am so proud to be 51. God has been good to me. He's been really good to me. I've lost numerous friends, from people dying at 16. I've lost a best friend at 24. I've lost family members at 30. I've lost numerous people that didn't even make it to 25. I can count numerous people that were in my life that didn't make it to 30. Numerous people in my life that didn't make it to 50. So for me to be here today and be 50 and healthy with no health conditions, yay! It's good, guys. It's amazing. And I'm proud and happy. It is the one thing I'm really, really grateful for, is that I've lived a rich life. I've lived a life with health. I've lived a life with success and a life with meaning. In my 50 years, what have I achieved outside a marriage? I have 3 degrees. I have an associate degree in theology. I have a bachelor's degree in applied criminology, and I have a master's in social work. So in terms of achievement educationally, I've done pretty well. After my master's would be a doctorate. Not interested in that. But over the course of the years, I have attained great status. I have achieved more than my parents. I was the first graduate in my family bloodline, and that is on my mother's side and my father's side. My father's family, there were 7 children. My mother's family, 7 children. Grandchildren are numerous. My cousins are numerous. And in my family, I'm the first person to have ever got a degree. So that's a great achievement. Amazing achievement. I have 2 beautiful daughters, absolutely stunning daughters. I've got a daughter who's 21 and I have a daughter who's 13. So I've achieved motherhood, which I think is the greatest thing on earth. I probably wouldn't be able to say it against marriage, but I would say as a woman, and in terms of having achieved education, having worked for the government, having done things that my mum and my dad and my grandmother and my ancestors probably would never have thought could happen to a child born in Zimbabwe and Gweru, I have really made great strides. I've been on holidays, amazing places of the world. I've seen stunning, stunning parts of this world and been on the sea, been in boats. I've experienced what in the world's eyes is success. And I've done that all by the age of 50. So, am I ashamed of my age? No. Because for 50, I'm doing pretty good. Am I ashamed of my relationship status? I have moments, I'm going to be honest with you, I have moments when I'm lonely. I have moments when I'm dealing with something and all I wish I had was someone to carry the burden with me. So you see, being single comes with hardships. Every bill in my home is paid by me. I have no one to help cover any costs. So those moments, my relationship status is painful because for 50 years, I've had to run this journey alone. Now, I did mention that I have 2 children, so it's not entirely like I've been, I've not had love or I've not been part of a relationship and had a companion. But when it comes to being 51, I'm talking about how I feel now. And it's at those moments that my relationship status feels painful. Because today is the 31st January. Valentine's Day is in 14 days. And I've got no one to spend Valentine's Day with. So times of the year, being single can feel heavy. It can feel hard. When I'm ill and I have backache or I've got some flu and I've got to get out of the house and drive to the pharmacy and buy myself medication, being single sucks. So there are times when being single can be painful. There are times when I stop and I think, was I too picky? Am I going to die alone? And when I think of dying alone, it hurts. Because you see, even though I've got children, I don't want to be a burden on my children. I don't want my children to not be able to live their life because they're concerned about mummy or what mummy's doing or who's taking care of mummy. I really don't want my children to have that burden. I would want them to be able to go off, get married, go to college, go to university, go off, live their lives, knowing that I'm safe. I've got a companion by my side. I've got someone I'm sharing life with. That's what I would love. That is something that I would have wanted to. So when I think of those things, my shame at the relationship status changes. Because you see, I've never felt desperate for marriage. I've desired marriage. I have desired marriage. I've prayed for marriage. I've wanted to be married. But I never felt desperate for marriage. So because I've never been one that's had that desperation for marriage, I've had a desire deep deep desire for marriage, but I haven't had that desperation for marriage. I've been able to get through life, trudging along. But as I'm 51, questions come. Am I afraid to die alone or end up alone? Do I get lonely, really lonely? What are the hardest moments of being single at this age? These are things I want to talk about in this conversation. These are things I want to talk about over the next few coming episodes. Real talk, real conversation. There's numerous women that are going to see this, and some are going to think, ugh, 50, well, you should just be quiet. You didn't do it. Or someone married is going to be like, ugh, she can say she enjoys being 50 or she's happy being 50. But how can you be? I'm going to talk about all of this in this episode. I'm going to talk about this over the next coming weeks. So thank you for coming to Awhile Talks. Thank you for coming to hear my side, hear my views. I'm going to be breaking it down a little further. As we go along, I will share the depth of my emotions and how I stay strong, how I am able to have joy even being single. Because society will tell you that as a woman, our identity is in being married, being a wife. But I want to share with the younger generation the things that life does and how you can find a way of being joyful, how you can continue to walk this journey called life with joy, even at 50. Join me tomorrow for the next coming episode, where I'll talk about my relationships, who got away, who was a mistake, the abuse, the cheating, the ill treatment, the joy, the laughter, the fun. Join me as I tell you my journey in the next episode. Thank you for coming to Awhile Talks.